So, hello everybody. Welcome to Metalwar YouTube channel. My name is Kostas Boudoukos, and today I'm extremely happy and honored to welcome Anders Jacobsson from Draconian. So, hello Anders, and welcome to Metalwar, and thank you for your
Hello.
time.
Hello. Thank you so much, and you're welcome, and happy to be here.
It's our pleasure, believe me. It's been almost 6 years since your previous album, Under Goddess Veil, and since then a lot of things have changed for the band and for the world in general with COVID and everything. And since this
Yeah.
period had been different for each band, I would like you to tell me what it was like for Draconian, this COVID period.
Yeah, I mean, since the end of the since the end of the recording of the last album, things started changing a lot for the band. The world was starting holding its breath because of COVID. We were having new management. We were working on tours that became postponed like 3 times because of COVID.
Hmm.
And there was a lot of things happening in Draconian at the time. I think this whole mentality of the world changed. And I mean, it was a weird time for the world, for the people in general, but for the band also. Um, Things started slowly changing. I mean, some of us we just wanted to continue with the band, and we didn't
Hmm.
know when the world would be opening up again.
Yeah.
And I was just fine. The only thing I was thinking about was trying to make everything work. So, but over the time, we're working in the shadows, so to speak, to see how to promote the album and everything in
Hmm.
spite of the COVID and everything. And for example, Heike, she started wanting different. She had a little bit of different prospects for the bands compared to the
Hmm.
rest of us. She wanted to be more of a, we are touring less and being more of a, like, you know, maybe a little bit less in the forefront.
Okay.
The rest of us, we wanted to go back on stage as soon as possible. We wanted
Hmm.
everything to work out. We were very enthusiastic and happy about the album that we just made. Unfortunately, we never got to tour the album
Yeah.
in the way it should have been,
Hmm.
you know, but it's because we were very, very happy about this album. But in the end, since Heike wanted to step back a bit, with Heike's blessings, we asked Lisa if she wanted to come back and do a live for us again, instead of just trying to find another vocalist.
Okay. Hmm.
This was something we also had in mind, but in the end, just starting that whole process again felt very, very stressful. Also considering everything else that was happening around us, starting over with this whole process with finding somebody, more years would be
Hmm.
added probably.
Yeah.
So in the end, it just happened naturally that Lisa became more involved in the band, and after the first show we had, when the world was starting to open up a little bit in the 22, uh, Heike decided that it's better that we just continue with Lisa, who actually wants to do what the rest of the band wanted. She
Okay,
wanted
perfect.
to step back into the limelight. She wanted to come back into Draconian, and so we went with that, and it's been like that ever since. And I would say that we are very stable now as a band. Uh,
Hmm.
I would say in the last 10 years, we have become so much better.
Yeah.
All these trials and tribulations and the psychology and however it's not been easy, but now we are stronger than ever. So
Hmm.
during this whole period, we wrote this album.
Yeah.
During that year where things really transformed for Draconian in the lineup, also with Daniel, they're both, Daniel and Niklas
Hmm.
entering the band. Um, we started writing slowly but surely songs for the new album. Johan started, and it was not until last year in late spring or something where we actually sat down and decided what songs to use for the album to make a coherent album that would become this one. So it was a very slow process, very procrastinating, and this time around it needed that time. And there was also different delays that affected everything that we didn't have any power over. So yeah, finally it's happening tomorrow. So we cannot be more happy that it's finally happening.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
understand that. I read an interview for your previous album in which you said that it was the most diverse album you have ever created until then, and that when you heard Heike's voice, you felt a growing inspiration or something like that. So I would like to
Yeah,
tell me how would you characterize your new album, and how did Lisa's return in vocals affect that?
I think both me and Johan said that the previous album was very diverse because I took a little bit of a step back to let Heike shine. That was actually my idea because I thought that the songs, I really loved the presence in Heike's voice, the air and the presence in her voice. And for me, as someone who is a creator in the band, I want the songs to be as good as they can be. So I didn't have so much ego about it. I just wanted the songs to be as good as possible. So we gave her more space. So I would say that the album became diverse, and each song is almost its own little single, its own little story. It's more of a storytelling album about a specific subject. This time around, it's more of a denser, grittier, more introspective. It's more of a culmination of everything that has happened since then. There's a lot of psychology and a lot of different feelings and emotions, not only good ones, that is, ingrained in this album. So it was not an easy album to make, even though it took so long. And also the world was crashing and falling apart, and there was so much evil everywhere. And I'm the kind of person that actually involve myself in this, and I sometimes it deviates me from my creative process. So which made it harder to write and put myself into the mindset of being an artist and being completely 100% into the process. But now, thinking about how the album is received already and what came out of it, maybe it was all just meant to be this way. Maybe that was the world anyway. This is what happened, and not to talk about fate or anything. I don't necessarily believe that it's a good thing, but this is the product now, and it apparently we did something that people like. So I'm just happy about that. I'm happy that now finally it's over and I can sit down and listen to the album.
Well, let's just say that everything happens for a reason in our life, and we
Yeah,
have
but
to make the most of it.
that's yeah, it happens for a reason, but not all reasons are good reasons.
No, no,
But that's a
no,
complete
definitely not.
that's a complete. But I think there's a lot of me in this album. I'm trying to tell a story about not just everything that I have picked up over the years, but things that I have experienced within myself as well. And it ingrains very lovely with Johan, how he weaves his soul with melodies. It always worked very well between us when we are creating together. So this time around it was more difficult and more timely, like slowly, but it worked.
Yeah,
We have the foundation, so yeah.
yeah, I agree with that. It's a truly amazing album, and I think what I liked most is the fact that it feels personal to you, and I think to all the listeners, and that
Yeah,
really
I
touched
hope so.
me. Yeah.
I hope so. Thank you.
Uh, I would like you to tell me what is the meaning behind the title.
It means that it's also a little bit the album, I would say the cover of the album, but that's a different story. We can just go with the title. It means that I believe that humanity, it also goes back to what we talked about just recently, but humanity is kind of sleepwalking into a ruin. Somnolent means that you are kind of in a sleeping state, and the ruin is that you're not aware of the ruin around you because you're not in that mindset what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
So your soul is kind of stuck in there screaming for you to wake up, but we are not waking up. And that creates the ruin around us. So that's what inspired the title. We were struggling a lot with the title for this one. We didn't know what to call this album until very, very late. We usually have an idea for the title very early on in the process, but for some reason, even this thing that became a very dragged out process paid off in the end, because it works very well with my point of view about humanity, what we're doing, and maybe the sleeping potential. We have so much beautiful potential, but it's hidden behind so much bullshit,
Yeah.
So that's what the title would be. So you have this beautiful, almost Sophianic figure here, maternal figure, that is kind of becoming more and more earthbound, and all these weeds are growing around her, but she's still waiting for us to wake up, because that's the soul spark,
Yeah.
the mother. Yeah.
Okay. One of the things I love about Draconian's music is the importance and the depth of the lyrics. The fact that you need to listen to read the lyrics in order to fully understand the music. And I have read that you mentioned before that in this album you have explored Plato's theory, for example, on the soul. Um,
So. It's a little bit
okay.
of a misunderstanding from the press release, but
Okay.
yeah.
Uh, anyway, you kind of answered that, but I want you to tell me how this current dystopian, let's say dystopian reality we are living in, and in general, what situations or what feelings do you draw inspiration from in order to write lyrics for an album and any album, not just Insomnial and Ruin? What
I don't
inspires
know. I mean, the only time I've been writing an album that was directly inspired by the world and like social matters was with A Rose for the Apocalypse,
you? Okay.
2000, 2001, 2011, which was the last album Lisa was on. That was more of a, I wouldn't say political, but I was very, very much into in the social fabric of where things come from, the psychology of our ruin and why things happened. I was very inspired by the Zeitgeist movies and all this that kind of activism that happened back then, and I was inspired by the energy crisis and all of that. But the thing is that I'm writing in symbolism and metaphors to not just to make people be able to insert themselves so they can interpret it in their own way and make the songs their own, but also because I find it more beautiful to be poetic. I don't want to be too straightforward. But to go back to Plato and the soul and all of that, I would say that goes mostly for the last song of the album, Lethe, which is about the reincarnation and the recycling of soul, and you are kind of misled and the kind of to drink from this river of forgetfulness. So you will forget your past lives, your past mistakes, your what you have learned, your enlightenments, your regrets, all of that. So you can start over from a blank. It's almost like you erase a hard drive, and I think that's for a nefarious reason. That's where Gnosticism comes in, and the archons and all of that. So I wanted to implement this idea of this is the Greek Platonic idea about the reincarnation process, which is nefarious and malignant.
Yeah.
But I have kind of Gnostified it. So, but the thing is that we talked about with the label in the press meeting about the marketing of this album, but it's not so much about the journey of the soul or the soul ascent or even the shadows in the cave, because the allegory that he made for his novel Republic, that has always been inspiring for Draconian, especially in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's just part of my belief system. That's just how I view the soul and humanity and the world. I don't believe that this world is our true home. And this has been the Draconian lyrics from the beginning. Ever since the first demo, we have talked about this.
Yeah.
It's not, but with the Sovereign and maybe Under God's Veil, that's when I realized that there's actually mythologies and spiritual concepts and philosophies about this that has traveled through semantics over the ages, even through Carl Jung recently. So that intrigued me very much. So that's why I wanted to make that concept from the previous album. This time around, it's just more personal, it's more introverted, it's more introspective, it's more personal, it's more like mindscapes and mindsets. But it's a lot about yearning for the afterlife and feeling alienated in this world. And I don't think whatever I do in this band, I seem to always return to these concepts, even if I don't. If I try to do something different, that's what's happening. So maybe
Actually,
that's telling, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you're answering a lot of my questions before I even get the chance
Yeah,
well,
I'm sorry, but sometimes I just forget the
no,
question. I
no,
just go on, and
that's
but
perfect. For example, my
good,
next
good.
question would be that you often touch the feeling of being an alien in this world.
Yeah,
So I wanted to ask if Insomnia and Ruin is a manifesto for those who feel they don't belong in this specific time, in this space.
I think
But
all of
I
Draconian.
think, yeah, I think
Yeah,
you just answered that.
yeah. But in Somned Ruined is more, yeah. That's about that as well. Uh,
Hmm.
it's just contemplations, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
I would really like to talk with you about each and every song of the album, but I think it's gonna take forever, and we don't have the time. So I will ask you about the most special song for you personally of the album and why. I'm not saying
Well,
your
the most
favorite, the
special.
most special. Okay.
I have two special songs for two very different reasons, but I will try to fit within the time here. Uh, First of all, the "I Welcome You, Thy Arrow," which ended up as the first song on the
Mm-hmm.
album.
Yeah.
It goes back a couple of years because I was having this dream that kept coming back to me with a little bit of a different flavorings each time. But you know, with most dreams, it's kind of fleeting, you know. But this kind of stayed vivid to me, and it kept coming back when I was dreaming. Sometimes in a very almost like it was attacking me. Sometimes I was like someone that was hunted. Sometimes I felt like I wanted to be hunted. Sometimes I felt grateful for it. Sometimes I felt afraid. Like I was lost in the forest, alone. But the thing is that it came back. It was this thing. I need to write about this. I need to write a poem about this. And I kind of, you know, not too straightforward about the song. I could say a lot about it, but I don't want to. Um, so I wrote about it, and then Johan read it, and he thought it would be a great song. So I kind of altered it a little bit so it would fit a narrative of the song.
Mm-hmm.
So it became, that's why it's very personal to me. It might not make so much sense to other people, but I think I wanted to write it in a way so it could maybe make sense to other people.
Okay.
But that's probably the most personal song to me.
Mm-hmm.
In a more like straightforward way, because it's something that I experienced.
Yeah.
The other song would be The Face of God, which is the most difficult song to explain lyrically, almost musically as well. It's a meditation almost, that song. It's extremely elusive, but in your face, and like kind of hypnotic and very deep and dark. And so I wanted to take this idea. I think in a very old movie, like a black and white movie from a Swedish director, Ingmar Bergman,
Mm-hmm.
who was always talking about the silence of God, and like how we as humans feel betrayed by his silence, you know. And I wanted to take a line from some movie. I don't know which one, but it's just something that stayed with me for all these years. Like I saw the face of God, and it was weeping. So I felt like that was a great, very powerful thing to create a song around. So me and Johan, we kind of went into that project, and it became maybe the most complex and powerful song on the album, in my opinion. But to explain it, I wouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
It would be very difficult. And but I think a lot of people would maybe get it. There is a question of authority in through the eyes of tears, you know, and not feeling worthy in the end, even though you know that you have done nothing wrong.
Okay.
No.
You mentioned a couple of songs, but you chose other three songs for singles for this
Yeah.
album. It's called Heavens, Misanthrope River, and Anima.
Yeah.
Why did you choose those three songs? In a few words.
First of all, yeah. Sorry for interrupting.
No, go ahead.
I always do that. No, but the thing is, I think it's not just the band that decides. It was influenced by our label. They, you know, Cold Heavens was the first song, the shortest song, and it was the most obvious song to make a video from,
Yeah.
with us in the video. So it's actually only the second video throughout our whole career as album artists that where the whole band is in the video. This is only the second video.
Okay.
The first video was The Last Hour of Ancient Sunlight. So obviously we needed to choose the shorter song, and the thing is that for the other reason was that Lisa was in the forefront of this song.
Mm-hmm.
She's really showing off in that song. She's like showing her power a lot in that song.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's feels very close to that lyric as well. For her, it's like you know, mocking or be feeling very disheartened by world leaders and the management of the world. You know, I see no saving grace in your masses' face, for example. She feels very strongly about that in connection to what's going on, and so that was the reason for that video. That was obvious because it was shortest. Lisa was in the forefront, and it was
Okay.
yeah. And the second video, we wanted a different narrative, more of an acted video, like we did with you know, Sleepwalkers last time. I would say that Misanthrope River and Sleepwalkers are kind of a little bit similar in its soul and energy and its vibe. So we wanted something like that, and I think it's more back to form with Draconian. It sounds more like Draconian.
Yeah.
If you would take, you know, like a song that would represent the band a little bit more, it would be that song, not Cold Heavens. And that's also a song that has become very liked by a lot of people, and to our gratitude, of course. And of course, Anima is also a completely different song.
Yeah.
It's a more laid back, more gothic, almost a little bit post-rocky, as it builds up and becomes like this kind of, you have to take a look at yourself and face your own, shadow, which the song title alludes to, the Jungian archetype, like forcing yourself to face the shadow, otherwise it will control your life,
Yeah.
So these three singles are very different songs from each other. That's why I think they are great singles. You cannot say that any of them represents the album individually, but I would say that all the three songs represents the album pretty well, because the album, even though it's quite dense and dark, it still has a kind of a red thread around it, and a variation to it that these three songs represents pretty well, as I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Two more questions I have. The first one
I
is,
have 3 minutes.
okay. I will be quick. Draconian has been a pillar of the scene for more than 3 decades, 32 years, I think. Does this history of the band feel like, let's say, a protective cloak or a heavy burden for you when you try to create something new, like this album?
No, I think it's almost, it's like a protective cloak, but it's also a kind of a, we know who we are, a kind of core foundation, pillar of foundation. We know the core where we can create from, whatever we might be influenced by. Oh, I'm influenced by that this band now, or I heard this thing, or I heard this thing. But we might go in different, things might inspire us, and we might feel and see these things on the albums in different, different albums. But we have the core that is our sound, which is what people call gothic doom metal, with progressive elements. So we will always have that foundation. We are one of those bands that never change that. And for as long as me and Joanna are in the band, that's never going to change.
Okay, perfect. I like to hear that. So, a
Good.
last question. After the May 8th, the 8th of May, the official release date of the album, what are the plans for bringing Insomnia into Ruin to the stage and generally to the people?
It will start with a smaller tour that starts next week in Latin America. So the 14th, we're leaving Sweden to do a tour in all of Latin America. Not all of Latin America, but we will. That's where we will actually first start playing these songs live. So we won't do any tour for this album until early next year.
Okay.
But we will have this tour now, and then we will do Spain, Portugal. We will do Brutal Assault in summer, and there's another summer festival. We will do Asia, like Japan and China.
Okay.
And there's the Turkey we will do as well. We are in the talks now about Greece as well, so stay put on that.
Yes, definitely.
So it's in the making. I'm really looking forward to doing these songs live, and that's when it's going to come full circle.
Yes, exactly.
I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is all from me, Anders.
Thank you, man.
Thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon in Athens, in Greece.
Hope so too, and thank you for the interview.
No, it was my pleasure.